You know, there's a smell to a hospital at 3 in the morning. It's not just the antiseptic and the floor wax. It's stale. It's the smell of recycled air, old coffee, and a kind of quiet desperation that only seems to come out when the sun is down. I'm a nurse. Or I was for about 12 years. And for most of that, I was a creature of the night shift. You get used to it. You get used to the quiet, you get used to the weird rhythms, and you get used to the fact that when things go bad on the night shift, they go really bad. I'd worked the telemetry floor at St. Jude's for about 5 years. We weren't a top-tier trauma center, just a small county hospital. We were understaffed, underfunded, and the equipment was always one update behind. My job was to watch hearts. I sat at a bank of monitors, watching the little green lines. For 8 hours straight. It's hours of pure boredom punctuated by moments of sheer, adrenaline-fueled panic. And into this little, dysfunctional family came Dr. Aris. He was new, assigned to our night rotation, and honestly, he was like something out of a TV show. He was young, charismatic, had that kind of easy smile that put the older nurses at ease and made the younger ones blush. And the man was, apparently, a miracle worker. In his first 2 weeks, he personally saved 3 patients who coded. Just incredible saves. I'm talking textbook perfect responses. He'd be there before the crash cart even arrived, barking orders, pushing the drugs himself, running the code with this intense, beautiful focus. We were all in awe. The hospital administration loved him. His save stats were unbelievable. The other nurses started calling him the night shift angel. He'd just laugh it off, run a hand through his perfect hair and say, "Just doing my job." We all are, right? But I'm not the in-all type. I'm the why type. And something was off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was just a little too perfect. The first thing that pricked at my brain was who was coding. It wasn't always the patients you'd expect. It wasn't the 80-year-old with end-stage heart failure, or the guy who'd just come up from a triple bypass. It was the difficult patients. We had this one guy, Mr. Henderson. He was in for observation after a fall, but he also had dementia. He was a handful. He was mean. He was constantly hitting his call button. He'd throw his food, and he had a habit of trying to grab the female nurses. We were all just gritting our teeth, waiting for his family to pick him up. One night, he was particularly bad, just screaming for no reason. Dr. Aris went in. I was at the desk, and I just watched him. He was so calm. He spoke to Mr. Henderson in this low, soothing voice, and the man actually quieted down. Dr. Aris came out, gave a tired smile to me, and said, "He's just scared. He'll be fine now. He'll sleep." An hour later, Mr. Henderson's monitor lit up like a Christmas tree. V-TAC, full-blown cardiac arrest. And just like clockwork, Dr. Aris was there. I mean, he was out of the on-call room, and in that patient's room before I'd even hit the code blue button. He was on his chest, pumping, yelling for EP. It was a performance. And just like always, he brought him back. It was a hell of a save. The next day, the family was crying, thanking him for saving their grandpa. And I just felt cold. Mr. Henderson's chart was fine. His labs were fine. He was in for a fall. He had no cardiac history. It made no sense. A week later, it was a woman in for alcohol detox. She was loud, abusive, screaming racial slurs at the staff. We were all on edge. Dr. Aris went in to see if he could prescribe a sedative. He came out 10 minutes later. "She's settled," he said. 30 minutes after that, she coded. Sudden respiratory failure. And again, there was Dr. Aris bagging her, bringing her back from the brink. The hero, He'd saved another one. Another difficult one. That's when I started to watch him. Not the patients, not the monitors. Him. I started tracking his movements. I saw him go into the supply closet. I saw him slip a small 10cc syringe into his pocket. I saw him go into the room of a patient, a perfectly stable man in his 50s, who had just been rude to the charge nurse, complaining about the food. Dr. Aris came out, walked past the desk, and said, "Just checking on his 4. Looked like it was kinking." He then went to the break room to get a coffee. He was giving himself an alibi. My blood turned to ice. I knew what he was doing. He wasn't the night shift angel. He was the one casting the stones. He was playing God. He was causing the codes, just so he could be the one to swoop in and fix them. A hero complex so twisted, so horrifying, he was willing to kill or almost kill to feed it. And he was targeting the patients nobody liked, the ones who wouldn't be missed, the ones we were all secretly relieved when they were quiet. My heart was hammering. What do? I had no proof. It was my word, a tired, cynical night nurse against the hospital's golden boy. Accusing a doctor of attempted murder. It would be my career. The next night, he was on shift again. I was a wreck. I was watching him like a hawk. Around 4 a.m., the floor was dead quiet. He got up from the desk. He stretched, smiled at me. "Gonna do my rounds," he said. I watched him walk down the hall and turn into room 412. Mrs. Petrov, a sweet old woman, a Russian immigrant, in for a simple pneumonia. She was stable, waiting for discharge in the morning. She was kind, she was polite, and she'd spent an hour telling me about her grandkids. He was in there for less than a minute. He came out, didn't look at me, and headed toward the lounge. I didn't think. I just ran. I burst into Mrs. Petrov's room. She was asleep, breathing peacefully. I looked at her 4-line, the one that was dripping a slow, steady bag of normal saline. And I saw it, the injection port just above her hand. It was still wet. He just injected something, potassium, insulin, something to stop her heart. My hands were shaking. I couldn't just wait for her to code. I ripped the 4 tubing from the port on her hand. A little blood welled up. She mumbled in her sleep but didn't wake. I grabbed a new sterile saline flush and jammed it into the port, flushing the line backward, spraying whatever he'd put in there out onto the floor. I grabbed a fresh 4-line, primed it, and hooked her back up. I was fixing a bad line. That would be my story. I stood there, gasping for air, listening to the steady, life-saving of her heart monitor. The code never came. I walked out of the room. He was there, standing at the nurse's station. He wasn't drinking coffee. He was just waiting. He was looking at the telemetry monitor for room 412, watching the steady, perfect rhythm. He was waiting for the alarm that I had stopped. He slowly, so slowly, turned his head and looked at me. He knew. He knew I'd been in there. He knew I'd stopped it. I saw it in his eyes. The easy, charismatic charm was gone. All I saw was a cold, bottomless emptiness. He didn't say a word. He just smiled. A slow, thin, razor-sharp smile. The shift ended an hour later. It was the longest hour of my life. I practically ran to my car in the pre-dawn gray. I was shaking so hard, I could barely get the key in the ignition. And that's when I saw it. On my windshield, tucked under the wiper, was a single sterile 10cc syringe. The orange cap was still on it. I quit the next day. I never went back. I couldn't. I didn't file a report. Who would have believed me? He was the hero. I was just the nurse who'd seen a ghost. I moved to a different state a month later. I still have nightmares. Not about the codes, or the blood, or the death. I have nightmares about that smile. And I always wonder how many of his miracles didn't make it. I've never done well with painkillers. I mean, strong painkillers. They make my head feel like it's full of cotton, and I can never quite trust what I'm seeing or hearing. It's like living in a dream you can't wake up from. And I was on a lot of them. I just had a pretty nasty knee surgery, full A, CL reconstruction, and the doctor had me on a steady diet of OxyContin. I was laid up in my apartment, alone for 2 solid weeks. My apartment, it's not much, just a 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor. But it's my space, you know. It's my safe spot. Or at least it used to be. Because I was laid up in non-weight bearing, my insurance was actually pretty great. They covered a home visit nurse to change my dressings, and even a few visits from a house call doctor to check my progress. His name was Dr. Reed. The first time he came, he seemed fine. He was an older guy, probably in his late 60s, with that kind of old-school Norman Rockwell vibe. He even carried one of those worn black leather doctor's bags. I half expected him to pull out a stethoscope and a wooden tongue depressor. He was a little familiar, though, a little chatty. While he was checking my stitches, he was just looking around. "Nice place you got here, Mark," he said. "Big for one guy. You live here all alone?" I mumbled, yeah, kind of out of it on the meds. "No girlfriend? No family close by?" he asked, pressing on my knee. "No, just me," I said, wincing. "Huh," he said, and just kind of nodded to himself. He finished up, told me the stitches looked good, and said he'd be back in a few days. "Make sure you keep that door locked, son," he said as he left. Never know who's out there. Kinda weird, but whatever. I was just happy to get back to my painkillers and my couch. That night is when it started. I woke up around 2 a.m. I was thirsty, and my head was swimming. And I heard it. A sound from my kitchen. A soft sh-click, like a cabinet door closing. I froze. My heart just stopped. I was in my bedroom, and the kitchen is all the way down the hall. I listened, my ears straining in the dark. Nothing, just the hum of the fridge. I told myself it was the meds. I was just hearing things. The oxy monsters, I called them. I limped to the bathroom, got some water, and went back to bed, convincing myself I was an idiot. A few nights later, it happened again. I woke up bolt upright. This time, it was a floorboard. My apartment is old, and the hardwood floors creak. There's one spot right outside my bedroom door that always groans. And I heard it creak. I wasn't dreaming. I was wide awake. "Who's there?" I yelled, my voice cracking. Silence. I grabbed the baseball bat I keep by my bed and just sat there, staring at my closed bedroom door for, I don't know, an hour. My heart was pounding out of my chest. Finally, I got up the nerve, swung the door open, and turned on the light. Nothing. The hall was empty. The front door was locked, chain on. I was losing it. I was sure I was losing it. I was becoming one of those paranoid people. I blamed the drugs. I couldn't wait to get off them. But then, the small things started. Things I couldn't blame on the meds. I'd leave my keys on the little table by the door. I'd wake up, and they'd be on the kitchen counter. I'd fall asleep on the couch watching TV, and I'd wake up, and the remote would be on the other side of the room, on the bookshelf. I knew I wasn't getting up and moving this stuff. I couldn't. I was on crutches in agony. The worst one, the one that really set me on edge, was the glass of water. I woke up one morning, limped into the kitchen, and there was a glass on the counter, half full of water, with condensation on it like it had just been filled. I don't use glasses. I drink out of the bottle. I'm a slob. I know. I never use the glassware. Someone had been in my kitchen. Someone had stood right there, at my counter, and had a glass of water, while I was asleep, helpless, 10 feet away. I called the police. I know, it sounds crazy. And they treated me like I was crazy. A cop came, walked around, saw no sign of forced entry, and gave me the "you're wasting my time" look. He saw the pill bottles on my counter. "You should talk to your doctor, sir," he said. "These things can make you confused." He was telling me I was a junkie. I was so humiliated. That same afternoon, Dr. Reed was scheduled for his last visit. My final checkup. I was actually relieved. I was going to tell him about the paranoia, ask him if I could get off the meds. He came in, cheerful as ever. "Well, look at you. You're moving around much better." He checked my knee. "Stitches are healing perfectly, Mark. You're all set. You can ditch the crutches in a day or two." He was packing up his old leather bag, zipping it up. I was sitting on my couch, my heart still kind of fluttering from the glass of water incident. "Doctor," I said, "I need to ask you, these painkillers. I think they're making me see things or hear things. I feel like I'm going crazy." He stopped zipping his bag. He looked at me, and his face was just unreadable. He tilted his head. "Oh?" he said. "What kind of things?" I keep thinking someone is in the apartment. At night, I know it's not real, but it feels." He smiled. A warm, paternal smile. He walked over, put his hand on my shoulder. "Mark, it's a very common side effect. The anxiety, the paranoia. It's just the medication playing tricks on your brain. You've been cooped up in here, all alone. It's perfectly normal. Now that you're healing, you can stop the medication, and I promise you, all that will go away." I felt this wave of relief. Of course, it was the meds. I wasn't crazy. He was the doctor, he knew. "Thank you, doctor," I said, letting out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "I thank you." "Not a problem, son," he said, patting my shoulder. He walked to the front door and opened it. He stood in the doorway for a second, looking back at me. "You just take care of yourself. And you know," he said, his eyes kind of twinkling, "you really should get that leaky faucet in your bathroom fixed." I just stared at him. "The what?" "Your bathroom faucet," he said, still smiling. "That drip, drip, drip all night? Oh, that would drive me nuts. I'd never get any sleep. My blood, it evaporated. My bathroom is en suite. It's at the absolute other end of the apartment from the front door. The door was closed. And the leak, it's not a loud leak. It's tiny. It's a single slow drip, every 20 seconds. You can't hear it from the bedroom. You can't hear it from the hall. You can only hear it if you are standing right next to the sink. In the dark. In the dead quiet of the night." He saw the look on my face. His smile didn't change. "You take care now, Mark," he said. And he slowly, quietly pulled the door shut, and I heard the click of the lock. He had a key. He must have copied my key, maybe the first day he was here. He'd been letting himself in. Night after night. He'd been in my bathroom. He'd been in my kitchen. He'd been walking around, watching me while I was drugged, while I was helpless, while I was asleep. He wasn't stealing anything. He wasn't doing anything. He was just there. And the worst part? The visit was over. My insurance was done. He had no reason to ever come back. But I was sitting there, my knee throbbing, my mind suddenly terrifyingly clear, and I knew with absolute certainty that he still had the key. I moved out a week later. I broke my lease. I left half my stuff. I couldn't stay. I still, to this day, wake up at 2 a.m. and I just listen. For about a year, my body was staging a full-scale mutiny. It started small, a weird tingling in my fingers. Then came the brain fog, where I'd be in the middle of a sentence and just stop. I couldn't remember the word, any word. Then came the dizziness, the muscle spasms in my legs, the exhaustion. An exhaustion so deep, it felt like my bones were made of lead. I was 29 years old, and I was falling apart. And let me tell you, there is nothing more terrifying than going to a doctor, telling them you are collapsing, and having them pat your hand and say, well, all your tests are normal. Have you considered it might be stress? I saw 6 different doctors, 6, a GP, a rheumatologist, an endocrinologist. They ran every test. They drew so much blood, I was surprised I could stand. And every time, the same result. We can't find anything. I was anxious. I was depressed. One guy even suggested I was a hypochondriac. I was being gaslit by the entire medical community, and all the while, I was getting worse. I had to quit my job. I could barely walk to my mailbox. I was desperate. I was willing to try anything. And that's when my GP, in a last-ditch effort, gave me a name. I don't normally refer to him, she said, but he's a specialist in obscure neurological disorders. Dr. Elias. He's eccentric, but he gets results when no one else can. Eccentric was an understatement. His office wasn't in the big, shiny medical complex. It was in an old, gray building on the edge of town, the kind of place you'd see a private eye in a 1940s movie. The waiting room was empty, dark, and smelled like old paper. Dr. Elias himself was unsettling. He was a tall, skeletal man in a suit that was too big for him. He didn't smile. He just looked at my chart for what felt like 10 minutes, his fingers steepled. He then subjected me to the most invasive exam of my life. Needles, electrical shocks to my muscles, balance tests that made me fall over. He was rough, dismissive, and made me feel like I was a broken machine. After 4 hours, he sat back down. Well, he said in a flat, dead voice, your other doctors are fools. I felt this wave of relief. So you see it? You know what it is? Of course, he said, as if it were obvious. You have progressive autoimmune encephalopathy. It's a rare degenerative disorder. It attacks the myelin sheaths of your nerves. It mimics a dozen other things, which is why those idiots couldn't find it. It's aggressive. Left untreated, you'll be in a wheelchair in a year. Dead in 5. I couldn't breathe. Dead. He said it so casually. But, he continued, you are very, very lucky. I am one of maybe 5 doctors in this country who has developed an effective off-label treatment protocol. It's intense, but it will stop the degeneration. I started crying from terror, from relief. I was so grateful. This man, this cold, strange man, was saving my life. I would have done anything he said. And so the treatment began. It was weekly. I had to go to his creepy office, and he, and only he, would administer the injections. It was a cocktail of 3 different syringes, delivered into the muscle of my thigh. It burned. It was agony. But I'd just bite down on my fist and thank him, because this was the price of living. The first 2 weeks, I almost convinced myself I felt better. The placebo effect, I guess. I had hope, but then I got worse. So much worse. The tingling in my hands turned into a constant, painful burning. The brain fog became memory loss. I'd wake up in my kitchen with no idea how I got there. My hair started to feel brittle. A strange metallic taste was always in my mouth. My legs didn't just spasm. They would give out. I went to him, terrified. "Doctor," I said, my hands shaking. I feel I'm getting worse. The treatment isn't working." His face, which was always cold, became furious. He slammed his hand on his desk. "What did you expect?" he hissed. "You've had this disease ravaging your body for a year. The treatment is at war with the disorder. Do you want to be sick? Is that it? Are you non-compliant?" "No, I'm doing everything. This," he said, tapping a syringe, "is the only thing keeping you from a feeding tube. You are lucky I'm treating you. Now roll up your sleeve." I was so beaten down, so scared. He was right. He was the specialist. It was the disease. It was my fault. I had to be stronger. So I let him. Week after week, I'd crawl into his office, sicker and sicker, and let him inject me with my cure. I was a prisoner. I was terrified of the disease he said would kill me, and I was terrified of the man who was my only hope. This went on for 3 months. I was skeletal. I looked like a ghost. I was 29 and I looked 90. One day, I couldn't get out of bed. I was too weak. I missed my appointment. My phone rang. It was Dr. Elias. I'd never heard him sound so frantic. "Where are you? You missed your injection. You cannot miss the protocol. You will have a relapse. A severe one." I can't," I whispered. "I'm too sick. I am coming to your home," he said. And he hung up. A blind, animal panic took over. I don't know why. It was just wrong. He shouldn't be coming here. I grabbed my keys. I half fell, half crawled out of my apartment and into my car. I just drove. I didn't know where I was going. I was just running. I ended up at the county hospital. The other hospital. The one he wasn't affiliated with. I was so disoriented. I just sat in the waiting room, shaking and crying. A young resident saw me and, thank God, pulled me back immediately. I looked that bad. I told her my story, my diagnosis, my specialist, my treatment. She just listened. And the more I talked, the paler her face got. She drew my blood. She ran a full toxicology panel. "Just a precaution," she said. She came back an hour later, and she was with a police officer. "Jan," she said, her voice so gentle. "What did you say your diagnosis was again?" "Progressive autoimmune encephalopathy," I said. She took a deep breath. "Jan, that's not a real disease. It doesn't exist." I just stared at her. "What?" "We ran your blood," she said, holding the printout. "Your system it's flooded with a cocktail of things. Arsenic, beta blockers, lithium, all in small, systematic, non-lethal doses. This isn't a treatment for anything. This is a poisoning. A slow, methodical poisoning." I didn't understand. "But Dr. Elias, he's a specialist," the police officer spoke. "Ma'am, we've had reports about Dr. Elias for a while. We just couldn't get a victim to come forward. He lost his medical license in 2018. He hasn't been a doctor in over 5 years. He wasn't treating me. He was causing it. All of it, the fog, the pain, the spasms, the weakness. He found a desperate, dying for an answer patient, and he made me sick. He invented a disease and then he mimicked its symptoms with a custom-made poison. Just to what? To have a patient? To feel powerful? To play God? They arrested him at his office while he was waiting for me. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital, getting chelation therapy, getting my system flushed. The young resident was there the day I was discharged. My hands were still shaking. The fog was gone, but the terror was overwhelming. Am I going to be okay? I asked her. Is the damage? Is it permanent? And she gave me this look of profound pity. And all she said was, we're doing everything we can. He's in prison, but I'm still in my own. I'm better, but I'm not right. The shaking in my hands never fully went away. I have to live with the fact that the man I trusted with my life, the man I begged to save me, was the one all along, who was slowly, deliberately, and with perfect precision, murdering me. And the scariest part in all of this, the why, I'll never know. And that's all for tonight. Remember, the most terrifying monsters are the ones that look just like us. The ones who might even live right next door. If these stories serve as a good reminder to trust your instincts, then show your support and like and subscribe. Hitting that bell means you'll get a warning before the next nightmare begins. Sleep well, if you can.